He's one of the most recognized faces on television. Dr. Mehmet Oz has kicked off his 7th season of his daily show. From sit-downs with celebrities to candid commentary on common health problems, Dr. Oz has cultivated a reputation for making complex health issues understandable. And he joins us this morning from our downtown studios. Good morning.
Good morning, Bev. How are you?
Well, I'm well, thanks. I'm wondering, when you started out on this on your show in season 1, did you ever think that it would go into 7 seasons plus and then some?
Never crossed my mind. I still remember Oprah approaching me about doing the show because I had obviously apprenticed with her. I went to Oprah University for about 5 years, and I still wasn't sure if it was the right thing for me, even in my own career. I still practice medicine. I'm dutifully in the operating room on Thursdays usually. But it's been a huge blast. I've learned a lot. I've actually become a better doctor, I think. And I've also enjoyed talking to Americans about a lot of things that matter to them. I think it's allowed the conversation, especially when it comes to eating the right things and making the right decisions about your health, to mature a bit.
Yeah, and I guess one of the holy grails to, a lifestyle, I guess, would be a life balance that everybody's in pursuit of. You're going to talk a lot about that this season.
You know, we did a big survey and collected a lot of data in the spring, and we learned that Americans and Canadians care a lot about their physical health, but they care even more about their mental health. I mean, you see it today, that the front pages of the Canadian papers today are talking about the fentanyl addiction and how it's causing loss of lives. Why do we have such a problem with drugs? Why is North Americans consuming 75% of all narcotics in the world, even though we're maybe 5% of the population? It's because we're not coping well. And folks are saying, listen, I'm pulled in 100 different directions. I can't get to it all, so I feel out of sorts. So providing a blueprint for balance, which is a big focus of the show this year, is going to allow us to take that conversation a little more deeply. This, for example, the month of November, we're focusing on life hacks. 30 straightforward things you can do to make your life a little easier, from how to clean up your house a little more effectively and organize yourself, to easier ways of making food in the morning when you're rushing, trying to get the kids and the family out to work or to school. These are the kinds of tips that viewers are telling us they have huge value from. And you know, the other side of the equation we're also trying to address. What happens when you really can't balance it all and you're struggling emotionally and mentally? I know there's been a big investment made in Canada. Bell Media certainly has $100 million worth of effort to try to get people to focus on mental health. But today, Bobby Brown's on the show, and he's going to talk openly. It's a very raw conversation about how we dealt with the loss of Bobby Christina and his inability with Whitney Houston to sort of pull the pieces together in a way that allowed life to make sense, led to a lot of the pain that he's faced in his own life and his own addiction issues. On the other hand, there's positives to that, and you have joy that comes out of making sense of what's going on in life. And that's the very focus of what we try to get to the base of.
You know, it's very interesting because, when you're talking about balance, of course, and as you mentioned, it's, with the national addiction kind of epidemic that you've referred to and will be referring to in the course of your show, tell me a little bit more about not coping and addiction and what's happening to people and the amount that a story can help.
Well, we're asking everybody in North America on November 19th to just have a conversation with their families about the issue of addiction. And just to be clear on this, it's surpassed car accidents as the #1 cause of accidental death in North America. It's a crisis that has increased 4-fold over the last 10 years. And why is it happening? Part of it's because doctors like me have been encouraged to give better pain medications, more powerful pain medications to patients who are having, for example, lower back pain. That's a classic story, by the way. 35-year-old construction worker hurts his back, is put on 2 weeks of OxyContin or Vicodin, and the next thing you know, you're addicted. And most young people who are sort of slipping into the abyss of addiction are introduced by prescription medications, or certainly by the age of 18 have dabbled in it, and that leads to lifelong addiction problems. The anti-drug is the parent. And so if you can get parents to talk about how kids are coping, how their friends are coping, and maybe family history issues that the kids should be aware of. Because listen, if you're out there listening to my voice right now and you've got a relative of any magnitude who's had a problem with addiction, you need to warn the people in your life about that, because it makes it much more likely that this chronic illness, which is a lethal problem if untreated, and is absolutely something that is not a moral shortcoming, but rather a problem with our genetic makeup and how our brain functions. If we're not aware that's a family issue, we'll fall prey to this issue.
It is, and it's such an important one. I know to that end you're going to have Mackenzie Phillips. You got some great guests coming up on this season as well. Congratulations, Dr. Oz. Thanks for being on our show this morning.
Thank you, Bev.
You can catch the Dr. Oz show every weekday afternoon at 2 o'clock Eastern on CTV.